Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar about our autumn appeal. It's nice to see lots of people signed up and also lots of people who have joined us. So yes, I think we will get straight into it. So for those of you who don't know, I'm the Director of Brand and Communications at Wildland Trust. And my role is about trying to inspire people to support the projects that we're carrying out with our partners. And what we wanted to do is give a voice to our partners in all of this as well, so you can actually hear from them firsthand. So the idea of this webinar is to introduce you to Fernando from our partner in Colombia, and also Mary from our conservation team, who I will get to introduce themselves more formally in a second. And we're just going to have a conversation about the project and, yeah, tell you a little bit more about what we're trying to raise funds for this October. So I don't know, Mary, do you want to go first and do a quick intro, and then we'll move on to Fernando?
Sure, yeah. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us and yeah, to discuss this really exciting new project that we've got lots of information for you this afternoon. I'm Mary McAvoy. I'm the Carbon Programmes Manager at Wildland Trust, and I've been working with the Trust for well over 15 years now, actually, in the programmes team. So my role at the moment is to work with some of our conservation partners around the world in order to help them develop carbon projects that then provide sort of long-term funding for the future. Helps to manage these reserves into the future. And I had the opportunity to visit Colombia at the beginning of this year. And one of the projects I went to visit was El Silencio Reserve that we're going to hear so much more about from Fernando. So over to you, Fernando.
Thank you very much, Mary and Dan. And I'm really happy to be here. Thank you very much for this invitation. And thank you, everyone, for attending, and very excited about this campaign, and hopefully we can reach our goal. So my name is Fernando Arbeláez. I am the director of Fundación Biodiversa Colombia. And we have been partners with Wildland Trust since 2018, and very proud to be Wildland Trust partners. And hopefully we will continue working in this beautiful project that we are very excited to carry on.
I can get my mic open. Yeah, so the idea of this is going to be, feel quite informal. We want to avoid death by PowerPoint, so there's going to be a lot of conversation. So feel free to ping any questions over. You'll see at the top of your screen a chat or a Q&A. If you want to put any questions in there as we go along, I will make sure they get asked. But let's get straight into it. But what I thought we would do is, before I start asking the questions of the guys, is I'd show you a very, very short film just that will give you a flavour of this area and the project that we're looking to support. Please take. So hopefully you will that'll give you a little flavour of actually how beautiful this place is. So Fernando, let's get straight into it. So what inspired you and the team to focus your conservation efforts on this area in the Magdalena Valley? You know, what makes El Silencio Reserve so critical for this region?
Well, when we started the foundation, there were several biologists, and some of them were working in different species, like the brown spider monkey, the silvery gray tamarin, the Magdalena River turtle, and the blue-billed curassow. So one of them was looking for, a couple of them were looking for a place where the blue-billed curassows could be very important for conservation, and they were directed to this area called Barbacoas. And when they arrived, they were absolutely thrilled with what they found. They found like this huge, beautiful forest with a huge like preservation of the original biodiversity of the Middle Magdalena Valley. So we said like, okay, we need to start like paying more attention to this area, because it's like 300 kilometers from Bogota and 200 kilometers from Medellin, and it's like thriving with biodiversity, which doesn't exist anymore in the Middle Magdalena Valley. Then in 2010, when we like start going more regularly, we did a multi-temporal analysis of what had been going the deforestation, because we witnessed that several of the first patches we saw in 2006 were already gone in 2009. So, okay, let's see what's happening. And then we discovered something horrible, which was that at the rate that had occurred between 2005 and 2010, these forests were going to disappear before 2023, so 2 years ago. So we said like, we cannot allow like the last opportunity of conservation of the Middle Magdalena Valley to disappear in front of our eyes. So we started like raising attention, and we decided as a foundation to focus all our efforts to preserve that area. And here we still are, but with forests still.
I'm just wondering whether we should put this reserve into a bit of context. So I've got a map I can share with you, share a screen. I'm just wondering whether you want to talk us through a little bit of that and how this landscape fits together. So let me just share the screen. Has that come up? Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad you can. I can't see it. So. So yeah, so do you want to just kind of give us a bit of a context about the El Silencio Reserve, and also, you know, this is an area where we've supported in the past.
Yes. So the gray area is what is now the Barbacoas Regional Protected Area, which we helped declare in 2017. El Silencio is located to the right, the blue, like all this area to the right in different parts. We started with that little bit on the top, which was 76 hectares in 2012, and that was like the base that allowed us to work in the area, to have like a permanent station in the area. Then we got the first expansion, which was supported by Wetland Trust in 2012, which is, I don't know if you can if you can show that. Yeah, so that the one above. That one. So that one was 519 hectares, which was supported by Wetland Trust and IUCN in the Netherlands. And then we did the second expansion, which is below, with Rainforest Trust, ABC, Wetland Trust, and Saving Nature and Time, which allowed us to have access to the wetland and to be neighbors of the local community. So that's like each expansion has like changed our game completely. And the last expansion was to the right, was supported by Rainforest Trust and ABC. So right now we have about 3,400 hectares. And the two properties that you see, El Taladro and El Jardín, are the ones that we want to protect and secure, so we can create a corridor to connect El Silencio with the forest to the left, which are San Bartolo and Montenegro, which are the best preserved forests in the Middle Magdalena Valley. So we reckon that with that corridor, we would be able to have around 10,000 hectares of more of continuous habitat in the Middle Magdalena Valley, which is like unprecedented. Yeah,
that's amazing. And it's a really exciting project. I'm going to bring Mary in at this point, because I think it'd be good for everybody to understand. So FBC's approach to land protection and restoration aligns with our conservation values and our long-term goals. But but what made this project stand out to you and the team? And how did you come to this decision of that this is somewhere that we really needed to protect? Let me stop sharing.
Yeah, no, thanks, Dan. Well, it's there's a few sort of checklists that we go through in the programs team and with our conservation advisory panel, which is our external advisory panel. And yeah, FBC's project really ticks them all. So first of all, of course, we're looking for whether this aligns with WRT's mission of saving land, saving species, and working with local partners. And the absolutely immense biodiversity value of these sites is incredible to see. The species lists are incredibly long. There's thousands of plant species, hundreds of threatened mammals, and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, working through the biodiversity value was quite straightforward because it is incredibly valuable for biodiversity in these areas, and there's multiple different sort of habitat types that come together as well to contribute to that. And then we look at whether there's an immediate threat that we can help alleviate with the project. So in this area, there's a really high deforestation rate, and that's been quite a historically high deforestation rate. So we know that any forest in this region, sadly, is quite threatened, and the amount of habitat loss has been immense over the last few decades. So the other thing sort of contributing to that threat is the type of threat, which is for mostly agricultural land here. So huge clearings actually for ranches. These are massive ranches that get that the land here provides for. So yeah, that was a very obvious case of a high threat level in this area. Working with an established and long-term partner is really important for this sort of scale of project. So we know that they've got a long history of involvement in this area, that they've got a good track record. So again, really important for us to know that the partner itself is going to be able to handle such a big project. And then that landscape scale that you've just shown so nicely on the map. So having the ambition and the expertise and the wherewithal to be able to go ahead and create this vision and also follow that through to implementation. So yeah, that's really important for us as well to look at the scale of the project too.
So what makes FBC like a really strong and reliable partner for especially for when we're running this is our largest appeal of the year, but actually it's our largest appeal in World Trust's history as well. So this is a big one. So what makes, I've got some thoughts on this, but what I think it's interesting to hear from you and the process that you and the team go through to kind of go, look, these are the guys to back.
Yeah, no, great question, and a really important one, obviously. So yeah, I mean, we first look at this track record. So FBC have been around for 20 years now. They're just celebrating their 20th anniversary this year, which is congratulations. And yeah, they've proven themselves really capable over that time, coming from really strong roots in science. So we really like their sort of their scientific approach and the way that they interact with multiple different stakeholders in these landscapes. So they're not just working at their local private reserve and focusing on themselves, they're also bringing that knowledge and expertise out to the wider area. Fernando said about the Barbacoas regional protected area, so they've been instrumental in helping to get that designated, and all those levels and stakeholder engagements are really important when you're working at this sort of scale. They are all highly qualified. We do our due diligence on the governance of an organisation, for example. That's obviously really important to us, looking at their financial health and the way that they report financially. So that all comes into our assessment. And yeah, I mean, when I was there, for example, literally anywhere we were in the reserve, they could tell me exactly what had happened at that place, what it was like before, if it had been restored, and that depth of understanding and knowledge is really impressive. I think that real being at one with wherever they are, and so immersed in their projects and so knowledgeable. So yeah, they've been consistently impressive.
Yeah, we're kind of talking like Fernando's not here, but just share one bit. The thing that really always stands out for me when we talk about FBC was when we first supported their Project River campaign, was the honesty and the kind of they're saying, well, look, we're ready to do this, but we're not ready to do all of that bit yet. So it was kind of being realistic about what they could and couldn't achieve. So, and like literally, that's the one thing that always stands out for me whenever we talk about FBC, is that it's just that honesty from the start. So, but anyway, we'll bring Fernando back into the conversation now. We've spoken about you like you're not here. So, so we kind of touched on it a little bit, but what this expansion of the reserve, how does this contribute to your long-term vision and your long-term plan as an organisation, but also for this particular region? So you're on mute.
Yes, first of all, thank you for the very kind words. We all feel very flattered by such an amazing partner like Wordland Trust, thinking that of us. We feel very proud, and we are very proud to be Wordland Trust partners. It has been like a great support in everything we have done so far. So what the importance, as I was telling you, this area is perhaps one of the last conservation opportunities of the Middle Magdalena Valley, which is an ecosystem full of threatened species and many endemic species, and also a huge biodiversity. So this expansion is especially important. First of all, of course, it will further consolidate El Silencio as a critical actor in the area, stakeholder in the area. But the most important thing is to be able to connect and restore these forests, as I said earlier. And there is one very critical aspect, and it is that El Taladro has been deforested for about, 20 years, perhaps a bit more. But right now, the land is ceding to the river. So there is a constant erosion. And the problem is that, and there is also a stream, an artificial stream that the river has been eroding and has been deepening. And the problem is that El Taladro is what separates the small lake of Barbacoas with the Magdalena River. And the fear that those two connect directly is that sedimentation will be further more important, and also the role of the community of fishermen, which we haven't talked, but we will talk soon, is basically to be the guardians of those lakes. And those lakes support the fisheries basically in the whole region. They are the last preserved wetlands in the lowlands of the Middle Magdalena Valley. So if there was a direct connection from the river to the lake, then the fisheries would disappear, and the income of thousands of fishermen that depend on them would also disappear. The community would become redundant because they wouldn't have any role anymore, because they would be the guardians of the lake. So that, for me, is, apart from expanding the habitat for many very important species, I think this project is critical for this particular reason, because that would be the end of Barbacoas, basically the end of the last preserved wetland in the Middle Magdalena Valley, and that is very frightening, basically.
I kind of want to carry on talking about communities, really, and the people in those landscapes. I'm going to come back to talk to you about the species that frequent this area, but I think let's keep rolling with those communities. So over a long period of time, so this 20 years of your organisation, you've built these strong relationships with local communities. How involved are they, and And I think there's kind of two parts to this question. One for you, Fernando, is, how important are they? And how important is it to have those communities involved? And Mary, I think is from you, it's going to be the same question, thinking about not just this project, but all of our projects, how important it is to have local people as at the heart of it. So I don't know if you want to go first, Fernando, and just kind of build a picture, because you've spoken about these fishermen in this region, but how important is it to have these people on board, and how involved are they in this project?
Basically, in FBC's DNA is the realization that without people and without the communities, you cannot do long-term conservation. So we realize that if conservation doesn't help people, doesn't improve the quality of life of the people who depend on the natural resources, it won't be sustainable. So from the beginning, we have always focused in all the projects we have done in communities, in involving, raising awareness, and that the projects help communities not only realize that it's important to preserve biodiversity, but helps their lives also to have alternative incomes, to have education for their children, well-being for the community in general. And that is the only way you can actually do long-term conservation. Otherwise, you're just dooming the area to at some point be in conflict with the community. And you always need to have the community as your allies, because they could be the best allies, but they could be also the biggest problem you can have in a natural reserve. So it's critical that also to work with the children, so these children grow, and then you can work with them, and they become your rangers, and they become your guardians, and the people who your guides when you go to the forest, and the people who carry out the restoration. So yeah, for us, communities is you cannot take them apart. You cannot have conservation without community work, basically.
Do you want to come in here as well, Mary? Because I kind of posed the same question to you, really, but I'm just thinking about as a whole.
Yeah, I'm just I'm thinking actually about what Fernando just said about the children and them becoming your greatest ally and your greatest asset to your project, because FBC employ an absolute legend. He's an older guy called Julio, and he grew up in this area. So he was telling me stories about what his father used to do on this land, and some of the trees that he has known since boyhood, and he has always had this sense of awe about these huge, enormous trees on the land that he still visits today, and the stories about how the community came together to actually sort of save one of these enormous, the big ceiba trees. So that's just one example of how somebody embedded in the community that is really pro-conservation can live their whole life here and dedicate their entire journey to helping to protect these areas. And I think, yeah, I mean, Fernando just said it very eloquently. You need to. It's very well having an area on a map that you can look at global data sets and see is really highly important for biodiversity. But at the end of the day, there might be people living there, and those people are the most important people to engage with a project and align with what their aspirations are and what they need out of the project and the organisation in order to fulfill additional livelihoods that they might need to or might want to progress. And yeah, I think the fact that FBC have worked so hand in hand with the communities here was really obvious to me when I was there. There's lots of handshakes and waving, and that everybody knew everybody, and that was really lovely to see, as well as those communities that are also coming from a wider area to fish in the lagoons. And again, as Fernando said, that is critically important. So yeah, the way that the organisation interacts with communities at the very outset of a project is absolutely critical to its success. And the most important people are those people that live there, that they feel like they own the project and they participate in the project and they are employed by the project and all those sort of things. So
yeah, and I think that's just something to kind of sort of reiterate from a World Land Trust point of view is that we make it very clear within us as an organisation, it's about supporting people to protect their land.
Yeah.
So we don't actually own anything as an organisation, and we don't have any of our team in any of those projects. It's about supporting and channeling funds to local organisations who employ local people and work with local communities. That's the only way that we think that conservation can be done. And it's like anywhere in the world, you know, it doesn't matter where you are, if you provide people with opportunities, then they'll buy into your ideas. So, so moving on a little bit, there's a couple of questions that have come in, so which some of them we will be coming on to, but this is probably a point in time to ask, you know, who actually owns this land at the moment? So, you know, we're looking to help you, and we're asking people to support us to provide the funding to purchase this land. So, you know, who are we purchasing off? And I think it's about also sort of reassuring that this isn't some sort of land grab as well. This is, you know, this is opportunities there.
Actually, like most of the lands there in Barbacoas, it's like huge cattle farming. Like there are very big lands owned by very few people. So it's not like we are not buying a lot of parcels from small landowners. We are purchasing the land of normally it's landowners who live in Medellin, which is the most common. And they have like other companies and other lands, and this is just one of their lands. That's for El Taladro. We always have a very good relationship with both of them, like the owners of El Jardín, but especially the owners of El Taladro, because they own two lands that are neighboring El Silencio. So we have worked with them. We have done like workshops about biodiversity with their with the workers, and like we have several. There was in another land in San Isidro, there was one conflict with the jaguar at some point. So we worked together to put like electric fences and repair the fence and put camera traps so they would have less conflict with the jaguar. And well, so far it seemed that it worked because they are very nice to us still. So this is another land of theirs that we realized that was critical to purchase and to restore because of everything I've told you before. So this is one of the lands, and the other one is El Jardín, which is also like a cattle farming land that has still lots of remnants of forests, especially some very important flooded forests. But most of the land is dedicated to cattle farming. And it's a group of owners that also live in Medellin, a group of owners, like mainly, it's just like a business that these people have in Medellin, a group of people who, as part of their business, they own this land and get an income out of the cattle. So we have also like talked to them and tell them how important it would be to be able to connect those lands. They also know that their land, the river is like eroding their land, so they know that it's important to do something. So that's a bit a way of telling them like, okay, we need to restore these lands and work on conservation, so you can also like help us and maybe like lower the price to the regular price because we want to do a good for like the whole area. So we're talking these terms. So basically it's like a very friendly conversation, and we know that these people will like sell their lands and probably like use them for other companies. We know that we are not displacing people who are actually living there, and actually the idea is to employ the people who are like working there already in the farms.
Right. So it's kind of this kind of, again, this is a double question, a double pointed question. So the first one is, so it's touching on these threats. So you've kind of talked about agriculture, and I think Mary's spoken in the past about that this isn't kind of small scale farming. This would be kind of lots of land clearance for large scale farming. So we know there's logging and there's poaching, and there's also and then there's the man-made canal. So just wondering what is the biggest challenge in this region? Is it the agriculture? What do you think is the biggest threat? Is it the man-made canal? And then the second part of the question is one that we've been asked in the chat is, but how will you as an organization then go on to protect this land from illegal activities? Because once you take the ownership of it, so activities like poaching and logging, etc. So sorry, that was a very long question, but it's kind of, they were so interlinked, the two questions, I thought I would just ask them both at once.
Yeah, I think the biggest threat in the whole area is extensive cattle farming, and extensive and unsustainable cattle farming, because it's done in a way in which the soil at some point cannot recover anymore. So they need to continually expand the grassland areas so they continue having like the same amount of cows. So at some point, the soils erode and the nutrients are lost, and so they basically, the forests that are still there are the forests that have not been cut yet, or like to say it very bluntly. But we in this particular area we have also like this threat, which doesn't only threat like the forest and the species who live there, but also the aquatic ecosystem. And we need to say that one of the most important characters of barbacoas is precisely the water system, because it's a mosaic between upland forest and wetland forest and flooded lands, and that supports a huge amount of animals that rely on these waters. So it's not only people who will suffer, it's like migratory species who rely on these wetlands, a lot of water birds who live permanently on those areas, and species like the manatee that Mary had the pleasure to witness by herself, and otters, and a lot of the Magdalena, the Prochilodus Magdalena, like one of the fisheries, the most important species for fisheries. Two of them are species that are endemic and that have are highly threatened. So basically, the threats are multiple and perhaps equally important, but the most generalized for sure is extensive cattle farming. That's one of the questions, right?
Yeah.
The other question I forgot. It was too long.
No, yeah, sorry, I realised that. So, but I think you've kind of answered part of that question, but it's kind of following on from that. There's a couple more.
Going to protect it?
Yeah, so there's a couple of questions. So linked to that is, how are you going to protect it? So somebody's actually asked, what size is your organization? And this is a large area. How are you going to manage and protect that landscape? And I think it kind of linked to that. There's this, we hear a lot about security, etc., in these kind of areas, and is that for your team? Is that an issue? So yeah.
So that question, the answer to that question has different levels. Yeah, one of them is that we, as you said before, we are very careful on how we expand. We don't want to just expand without any plan or any control, because we know that what's at stake at some point if we are not able to protect and maintain those lands, it will be like a huge disaster. So we will basically create the opposite effect that we want to achieve. So we have been always very careful to know our capacity and know what we can handle. And so the other question is, how do you protect the land? On one side, if you secure it, if the land is yours, you can manage it and you can take decisions of the land. The other level is how to preserve what's already there, or how to restore. So one thing that is very critical is, as I said before, working with local communities and working with other landowners and other people, and knowing that what you are doing there is important not only for us, but for the whole region, for the people, for the species, for even themselves or other landowners. That like preserving the Barbacoa's wetlands is critical for them also. So, and how do we protect them? As we have protected them like the other parts of El Silencio, we have a set of rangers that live permanently in the reserve. And basically we train them and we work with them to build their capacity. They do regular surveys and patrols inside the reserve. They record everything in SMART and other software and other methods we have for recording biodiversity. But the most important thing is that we make presence in the whole area. The communities know what we do, so they help us protect the land. And the other landowners do not see us as a threat, but as an ally. So when you have all these together, you can say that protection like goes a bit by itself, not by itself. You still need to maintain it. So what's the difference with this project? How are we going to ensure that we will have like the resources to maintain this in the long term? We found like an amazing donor that said like, okay, if you find funds for this land, like to purchase this land as Wetland Trust is providing, then I will match it to maintain it. So we not only have like the beautiful opportunity to secure this land and to purchase it and know that it's going to be preserved forever, but we also have like the means to maintain it in time, which is like a unique opportunity basically. So having this opportunity, we went to Wetland Trust and told them like, okay, we need to do this. And here we are.
Yeah, and also just part of the funds that we're trying to raise is also going to fund the employment of two rangers to support this project as well. So I've just got one last quick question, and then we're going to get on to bring Mary back into the conversation because I want to kind of give because lots of people on this call and on this webinar are not going to get the opportunity to visit this area, because I want to kind of give a feel for what this landscape is like. But the one last real quick question, just with regards to the land that's already been farmed that you mentioned, are you planning on letting that naturally regenerate, or are you planning on tree planting in that area as well?
So both. Okay. We have developed like this protocol of restoration along like the 12 years we have been in 13 years we have been with El Silencio, like learning what's the best and most cost-efficient way to restore this land. And we have realized that like the ecosystem is amazing. You basically give it a chance and it just comes back. You don't need to do much, but you can help him. You can help him recover faster. So what we do is that we don't plant like all the land. What we do is that we plant in corridors. So the corridors have the species we need to we need to be there, so that it becomes like used by the fauna. And in the other parts around the corridors, we leave natural regeneration occur. Once natural regeneration has occurred after some time, we start enriching with the species that will arrive there at some point, but will take perhaps more time to arrive, which are the old species, the old forest species. So in that sense, that way we have realized that we can like help the ecosystem recover very, very fast, and not having to plant everything. So nature gives us like 90% of the work. We don't need to do 100% of the work. And the last thing is that due to the characteristics of the ecosystem, it rains a lot, the soils are quite fertile, and it's hot. So the forest grows like in front of your eyes, basically. It's really, really amazing how it grows.
So look, Mary, I'm going to bring you into this conversation. As you know, as I said, many of us probably won't get the opportunity to visit this landscape, and Fernando's there all the time, so he knows what it's like. But I kind of want to hear from you as someone who doesn't see this every day. You know, what's this place like?
Oh yeah, it's a treat. I I think it's a difficult place to get to. It's a long journey, it's arduous, and then there's it's hilly and hot and mosquitoes, so you have to work quite hard to be in this landscape. But if you do put in that effort, I do believe it rewards you, and I was utterly stunned by El Silencio and its surroundings. I mean, these are incredibly diverse forests. So we're talking, you take a walk and you look at the trees and not one looks the same as the other because there's so many different species packed in. On the forest floor, there's the shapes and the vibrancy of some of the leaves and the plants on the floor, with these occasional hopping frogs and butterflies that just are stunning. It's a really unique and special place. I've stood in one spot in El Silencio and watched 3 different troops of 3 different species of primates right in front of my face. So we had like capuchins that were on the lower story. There were brown spider monkeys eating these amazing like bright red flowers, and their faces were covered in the pollen because they were sucking out the nectar from the flowers. And then spotting red howler monkeys in the higher canopy as well. So just incredible diversity. The noise, I mean, there's the constant hum of insects and so many different bird species. So extremely noisy parrots that are flying overhead and hopping around in pairs, and the macaw species as well. The blue and gold macaw was a real treat to see those a few times. Yeah. Yeah, so much. And the different pockets of different habitats were really interesting. I mean, my background's in ecology, so I love all of that. And at one stage, on some of the higher ground, Fernando was pointing out quite a large area of these really densely packed palms that are in some of the seasonally flooded areas, and he said it's practically impenetrable. Like, we don't know what's in there because it's so it's so difficult to access, and the feeling that you're somewhere with actual like wilderness just over there was really incredible as well. But yeah, there's so many amazing sort of moments in just a really short period of time. I was just there for 3 days. Actually, one of the things I will mention was we were traveling back actually from a really long trek with the horses, and one of the horses, the one that I was on, got really jumpy, and I was like trying to sort of see what was going on, to control the horse. And Julio, who was on foot, he was like, and he pointed at the track, and there were fresh jaguar prints that went across the track, and they were so fresh that the sand was still settling inside the footprint. And for me, I was like, oh wow, that obviously I would have loved to see the jaguar, but it was even more sort of magical knowing it was there. And it just left this these tracks that I mean, there were so many moments that were incredible.
So Fernando, do you want to talk us through some of this? There's a list of incredible species there. We've actually had a message, who I'm presuming Juan works with yourself, about the white-lipped peccary. The only record you have of it is actually in this the El Jardin flooded forest. So, but do you want to talk us through some of the species in this landscape?
Yeah, well, with the jaguar, it has been like several times we have gone and put like camera traps. And come back, and on the way when we see the images, basically he was right behind us. So yeah, that's very common. You can hear him sometime from the research station. He's just like pushing or growling. I don't know how you say the sound of the jaguar, but it
sounds like a really heavy cough, if I remember rightly.
Yeah,
like I've not seen it. Yes, it's like a cough more than a growl.
Yeah. So yeah, it's well, I have to say that Mary was particularly lucky. It was a bit surreal how much animals Mary saw. Like she saw like the manatees. She saw all the monkey species, right? I think you did. And I mean, it's an area where a lot of species that are rare in other areas, you can see them very, very easily. Like, for example, the blue-billed curassow, the encounters are more and more frequent. like brown spider monkeys are like thriving, and we know that the populations are increasing, and as they are more connected now, like for example, with the land purchase we did in 2024, in 2020, with Wordland Trust and other partners, we could connect a huge forest patch from a southern forest patch, and right now you can see like basically the populations are connected, and you can see the benefit on the populations. You also have like you have ocelots, you have pumas, jaguarundis, jaguars, of course. So there are like 4 species of felines, 5 species of monkeys. 4 of them are threatened. You have like so far 315 recorded birds just in El Silencio, not counting like places like San Bartolo. So yeah, it's a very, very diverse place, and not only it's diverse, but it's so abundant. Like it's really so easy to see wildlife. It's amazing, and yeah, Mary saw that, and of course we saw things we had never seen when Mary went. So it's a very good like it's very good to take her to places so you can see lots of things also. But we will be very happy to have her every time, so we can see all the amazing things we saw with her.
Yeah, well, let some of the others of us go. So and actually, it brings up one of the other questions. You know, is this somewhere that people can visit, or do you have plans in the future for the potential of ecotourism if it's done in the right way?
Right now, most of the visitors are mainly like science focused. It's either researchers, either visitors who have like an interest in science. So we are not open to regular visitors right now because mainly the logistics are really, really complicated. So it's like a whole operation to bring people to El Silencio. A beautiful operation, and they always leave very happy, but it's a whole operation. But we expect that in the future we will be able to have like more accessible, like for example, lodging, because the lodging right now is quite far away from the lake. And yeah, that's something we contemplate. We will never like open like big tourism, allow big tourism or very crowded tourism. Always a very respectful and low impact tourism. But we will be very happy to be able to bring more people to that place and be able to show all the things that Mary saw, like to many, many other people. So yeah, we have those plans, but for the moment, it's still a bit rough, I would say. So you need like long walks, heat, mosquitoes, humidity, mud. Many of them we will never be able to solve them, but at least like make the walk or the place where you stay more comfortable. Although I have to say that we still have the best showers in the Middle Magdalena Valley, and that's something that changes your day.
Well, forget the species. That's a claim to fame that you're going with there, Fernando. So, look, we're getting fairly close to the end of this. So I'm going to take the last question that's come in, and then I'm going to come back to you both for a bit of a closing question.
I forgot to mention the white-lipped peccary, of course, as it says. It's the only place where we have found white-lipped peccary in the whole Middle Magdalena Valley, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So that's really amazing. So and again, that's part of the reason why this project kind of excites us, certainly from the comms side of things, because there's so many really special things to speak about, and and some of the footage, and at the very end of this, I'm going to show like another 1-minute video that we've created, which just shows. I've got it kind of see it out of the corner of my eye, this stunning landscape and this incredible forest that we need to protect. So, so one of the other questions that's come in, actually, which I'm happy to take, is, who matches donation? I've always wondered this. This is come from one of the people on the webinar. So for 2 weeks, so what we do is the start of the autumn appeal is that we have a period of match funding, and we have a group of very generous donors, so it is some individuals. There are some trusts that who actually will provide funding to us for us to match donations that come in. We've been lucky in this scenario is that we can triple match. So basically anybody's funds that anybody who donates between now and in this fortnight, so starting from today, their money will go 3 times as fast. So if you donated £10, that will be £30, because what that will do is that will release another £20 from the match pot. So, but yeah, it's we can't share their names for obvious reasons, but it's a group of people and like I say, trusts and foundations who we know, who we've known for a period of time, and yeah, for want of a better phrase, we've vetted them to make sure that they are the right kind of people as well. So so we feel very lucky to do that, and and as we know at the moment with everything that's going on, we know that actually this is going to be a challenge for us to raise these funds. So having people who can match donations is something that we're incredibly grateful for. So last question to the both of you. So for these people who are on this call, and then also we're going to make this video available on our YouTube channel. What can what would it mean? What is for donors to want to make a meaningful impact? What would you say makes this place unique, and what is the real value to supporting this project and this campaign? This is your chance to have this call to action to these people who are sat in this room. I'm going to get Mary to go first, and then I'm going to come to you, Fernando. So yeah, because I want to give you that last piece of the voice.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Dan. Yeah. I really believe this is a unique opportunity to have such a catalytic impact in this area. So we saw the map at the beginning. El Silencio is secured, the San Bartolo and Montenegro areas are secured, and this is the last piece of the jigsaw, and an amazing opportunity for those people that wish to donate to the project to triple their impact. There's very few times where I can give £1 and 2 more pounds are put in for me. That is just an incredible opportunity to to secure these areas, to connect them, to allow wildlife to move freely into the future for future generations, and also to empower all these local communities that will be part of this project. At its very heart.
Fernando.
So this area is one of the most biodiverse areas in Colombia, which is the second most biodiverse country in the world. So in terms of biodiversity, there is no argument that it is super important. It was even declared a key biodiversity area, the Middle Magdalena key biodiversity area last year in December. So we know that the list of species is amazing. The species that are there are critical and very important, many of them endemic. So in terms of biology, there is not much argument. But this project has, for me, 2 additional characteristics. One of them is the level of threat, because if El Taladro is not intervened, the consequences would be dire for the whole ecosystem and for the region, not only for the ecosystem, but also for the people living in that area. And the other one is the possibility we have to ensure that this land will not only be purchased, but will be maintained in the future, that we have the ability to, one of the fears we always have as a foundation is that we can purchase a land, but we are not very sure that we will be able to maintain it in the future. Here we don't have that fear, because we know that it will be matched to be maintained. So I think if people wanted to invest in a land that is going to be protected, this is a no-brainer. This is one of these things that that will make a huge impact in the future.
Brilliant. So I'm going to share with you one very quick video that we've created for the appeal. and then I will come back to close this webinar off. So I should let me share. Hopefully you can see that. Can somebody give me a thumbs up? I can't see whether you can see it.
Yes, yeah, we can see it.
Cool. So I'm going to bring this to a close. I want to say thank you to Mary and Fernando. Hopefully this has helped bring this project to life a little bit more for you. You know, we do try to get out as much information as we can to everybody. Obviously, if you've got any further questions, feel free to contact the team at World Land Trust, who will happily answer any of those questions. But yeah, this is probably my last call to say, if you can support this project, it's something that we feel really is really important. You know, we're saying we believe this is the last chance to do this. So yes, I want to say a huge thank you to everybody and Fernando, and for all the hard work that him and his team are doing in this region. But again, to anybody who can support World Land Trust to achieve this target, we would be extremely grateful for that. And you know, we can't get across our gratitude as much as we would really love to everybody, because you know, we're in a really amazing position where we can support these incredible projects, but ultimately we can't do that without you guys. So yeah, so if you can support us, again, this fortnight it'll be trebled, which is a great opportunity. And yeah, again, thank you everybody for joining, and yeah, hopefully you found that of interest. So I will bring this to a close. Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thanks all.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming and attending.